We're talking with Rick Green, the Constitution coach of America, and how do we educate the American populace to understand liberty, security, and values the way our founders did, not the way they're being taught in public schools, not the way they're being taught in woke law schools. I mean, Vice President Harris had her rally at Howard University, and she didn't show back up for that to give her concession speech, so they called her the coward of Howard. That's kind of trending now. But Howard hasn't been teaching in law school the principles of the Constitution, but neither is Harvard, neither is, you got to go to very far to find a good teaching of the Constitution at a law school. Rick, you went to the University of Texas. Did they teach you what the founders taught, or did they teach you something different?
They hit it, right? The last thing they wanted to do was actually open up the Constitution, so they had to tell you what some professor or some judge, says about the Constitution instead of actually reading it and studying it. So yeah, that's part of our problem, right? I mean, we're more worried about the fad and what's popular at the time instead of what's actually true, what actually lasts, what actually will be good for our kids and grandkids. But I think you mentioned it in the first segment. The pain of the bad policies is causing people to ask questions. They're starting to look up and go, you know what? I don't want to go into 1,000 years of darkness. I don't want to go into multiple generations of tough times. So what can we do to interrupt that cycle of nations? And you said it right there at the end, 250, man. That's when you normally fall apart. But we've got the keys, and they're right there in our founding documents to interrupt that cycle instead of having the tough times last for multiple generations.
Well, Alexander Fraser Tytler was writing at the time of Adam Smith, who wrote The Wealth of Nations, and the founders who wrote our Constitution. I'm reminded of something Kennedy purportedly said. He assembled all the smartest people in America, and he said, this is the finest collection of brain power ever assembled in the White House, except for the time when maybe Thomas Jefferson was dining alone. We ignore the fact that our founders had enormous wisdom when they wrote the Constitution, and they knew what Tytler was writing about. What he wrote about was basically straight from the period of kings in the Bible, and that is, all great societies prosper. When they prosper, they get lazy. When they get lazy, they sell themselves into bondage, and then it's going to take a huge push back to get liberty back, and it's a 250-year cycle. Here we've got that choice. We're at that crossroads. What must America do at the 250th anniversary?
Yeah, and think about it, Kevin. It's really simple because it's honestly just the nature of man. When you have those blessings, life is good, man. You're enjoying the blessings of liberty. You're playing golf. Your business is doing great. You're coaching Little League. Everything's going wonderful, and you stop doing the hard work. So everybody's seen the memes that kind of summarize what you're talking about. Tough times make tough men make good times make soft men lead us into tough times. And the soft part, we're soft as a nation. We're snowflakes right now. We've had it. We're fat and happy. We've had it so good for so long. We stopped doing the hard work. And what do I mean by the hard work? Actually studying. Why was Thomas Jefferson so brilliant? Why was John Adams and George? Why could they talk about all of the greats? Why could they talk about all of the different periods of history? Because they had studied. They had done the hard work to get the intellectual ammunition to then not only win the war, but then create a nation that would produce such freedom and liberty for so many generations going forward. And of course, the greatest wisdom is the Bible. So why were they quoting the Bible 34% of the time? I mean, Montesquieu was about 8% of their quotes. Blackstone was about 8%. Locke was about 2.9%. But the Bible was 34% because that's where so much wisdom comes from. So what do? We got to get back to truth. We got to saturate ourselves with truth. We got to study the Bible, study the Constitution, study the Declaration, study the people that the Founding Fathers were studying, get that knowledge, and then go out there and build community with other people that want that, and then go tend the garden. Just do the hard work. And the hard work for us is nothing compared to the Founding Fathers. When I say hard work, man, I mean showing up at your school board and just sit in the back of the room and at least listen and learn how the process of governing that school works. Show up at your city council and just sit in the back of the room and listen and learn how that process works, and then eventually start getting up and speaking into it, and maybe a year from now run for that office, or at least recruit somebody good to run for that office. I'm saying that's hard work, but it's really not that hard, man. We give a little bit of our life, a little bit of our fortune, a little bit of our sacred honor, and we can restore this thing.